Every now and again, an iPhone feature that has been around for a long time will go viral on social media because most people are discovering it for the first time. I'm guilty of creating a few of these myself. And if you think about it, Apple comes out with a new version of iOS every year, and each one of these is filled with these secret little features, which means with each passing year, this list only grows and grows. And this goes all the way back to the original iPhone. That's right, in this video, I'm going to be sharing 10 secret features that have been around since the first iPhone that your phone can still do today. Alright, let's start real basic here. One of the major wow moments from the first iPhone introduction was scrolling.
I just take my finger and I scroll.
But there's a simple little feature that's always been around whenever you scroll down a list or website. If you want to get back to the top, just tap the status bar. That's something that still exists on our phones today. Next, pretty much anytime you see a list, there's also a search bar, but sometimes it's hidden. Just pull down to reveal it. Some cool examples of this on our phone today is in Settings, pull down to reveal a search bar, and then any setting you're trying to track down, search for it and jump right to it. You can also do this in Messages. Use the search bar to jump back to any point in any conversation. Something you may have known about the first iPhone was that it didn't originally have an app store. That came a year later. The reason for this was because Steve Jobs believed the most reliable and secure solution was to use web apps. Meaning rather than downloading and installing an app, developers would instead host their applications on a web server, and you would access them via websites in the Safari web browser. But here comes the tip. To make it easier for people to access their favorite web apps, they added a feature called web clips. While on a website, you could tap the plus button and then choose Add to Home Screen. It would then generate an icon and let you enter in a name. And then you would have an app on your home screen. Only this app is essentially a glorified Safari bookmark. And this feature still exists on our phones today underneath the Share button. Just tap Add to Home Screen. You can use this for websites you visit all the time, or maybe it doesn't have its own app, or perhaps you just prefer the web experience. Next, let's open up the Calculator app. You may have already known that rotating it into landscape will give you a more advanced scientific calculator. But a hidden feature that has been around since the beginning is the ability to delete the last digit. Just swipe left or right over the number. You can go back and forth as many times as you'd like, and of course, this still exists on our phones today. Inside the Clock app, you're likely familiar with setting timers, but did you know you could set it to be a sleep timer? One of your options underneath When Timer Ends is Sleep iPod. Today, that's been renamed to Stop Playing. With this option enabled, when your timer ends, any music or video you're playing will stop. And if the screen is still on, it'll go to sleep. Alright, now I don't have a SIM card installed in my original iPhone, so I can't really demonstrate this next feature, but it was a part of the original iPhone announcement. During the keynote, Steve Jobs makes the first official phone call to Johnny Ive, but is quickly interrupted by Phil Schiller.
So I put Johnny on hold and, hi Phil.
Hi Steve, I want you to be the first call.
Then comes the really cool feature. He merges the two calls into a conference call.
You can see the button has changed to merge calls right there in the middle, so I just push that right here. And now I've created a conference call.
This is something that still exists today, but I'm not sure how many people take advantage of it. You don't even have to wait for someone else to call you. If you're already on the phone with someone, just tap this Add button. The next hidden feature is also related to phone calls, and I think it's really important for everyone to know about. If by chance you're with someone who becomes unresponsive, or if the only phone around you belongs to someone else and there's a passcode on it, you're still able to make an emergency call. Now this feature has gotten even better with today's phones, because not only can you make an emergency call, but anyone with an iPhone can set up a medical ID. This can house information about any medical conditions you have, any allergies, medications you need, what your blood type is, and you can add emergency contacts, so that in an emergency, anyone around you will be able to notify the right people. Alright, next up, keyboard shortcuts. There weren't too many of these at the beginning, but one of them was double tapping the spacebar to add a period. This actually isn't a bad trick once you get used to it. It's 2 taps as opposed to the 4 I've gotten used to. I tap 1, 2, 3, then I tap the period, and then I tap space. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about this trick, but I think I'm going to train myself to start using it. The only other real keyboard shortcut is long pressing on certain keys to get different characters. Some notable examples are long pressing the dollar symbol to get different currencies, and long pressing 0 to get a degree symbol. Next, you may or may not already be aware of Shake to Undo. If you ever make a mistake, just shake your phone to get an undo option. Shake again to get a redo option, or on today's phones, undo even further. But something you may not know about this feature is it's not just for typing. You can use it system-wide to undo a variety of actions. For example, if you delete an email you didn't mean to, you can shake to undo and bring it back. You can do this with photos, files, Safari tabs, rearranging app icons, and all sorts of other things. And here's a bonus tip for those of you who don't like shake to undo. If you just take 3 fingers and tap the screen, it brings up an undo menu. You can also swipe left with 3 fingers to undo and swipe right to redo. The next hidden feature is really cool, but it actually doesn't exist anymore. However, I do have an alternative solution specifically for YouTube to make up for it. When watching a video on the iPhone, if you brought up the video scrubber, you could jump to any point in the video. But if you wanted to get a little bit more precise, all you had to do was drag your finger halfway down the screen, and now the scrubbing is a little bit slower. And if you wanted to get really precise, just drag your finger all the way to the bottom of the screen so that you can start playing at the exact moment you want to.
So we think this is pretty cool.
So that no longer exists on today's iPhones, which isn't exactly a huge deal with how big these screens are getting. You can still get pretty precise, but dragging your finger up or down won't have any effect on the scrubbing speed. However, here's that bonus tip for YouTube. When playing a video, if you bring up the scrubbing bar and drag your finger up, you'll get a more precise video scrubber. So if you learned something, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Also, leave me a comment letting me know how many of these features you knew about, and if there's any features I missed, let me know about those too. I'm Nick Bradley, thank you so much for watching. Hello?
I wanted to be the first call.